Hey YouTube, this is Thomas Bay, also known as Coach Bay. Today, yes, I'm going to tell you about the rule of three. 1, 2, 3. I learned that from Steve Jobs, and today I will show you how it can help you when you do your presentations and you want to influence people at work. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Let me take you through the rule of three. Yes, I did learn the rule of three from Steve Jobs when I read the book, The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. Steve was a master of the rule of three. He used it all the time when he communicated, so everything he talked about came like in three buckets, whether it was a product or whether it was features, whatever it was, he kind of like structured it around three pillars. And Apple is still doing it today. Why? Because it works. It's amazing. Now, before I go into why it's amazing, I want to talk a bit about my own life, because yes, I was made aware of the rule of three by Steve Jobs, but he was not the one who actually introduced it to me. That happened way before, a long time ago. So I grew up in a small country called Denmark, which is part of Scandinavia, Northern Europe. And one of the first things my parents introduced me to was the way we eat. So our meals are structured around three big events every day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yes, it's amazing, but it's the rule of three. Now, later I went to school, and one of the first things they teach you is that you have to learn your A, B, C. One more time, the rule of three. I also recall one of the first kind of like really cool books that I read when I could read like proper longer books was The Three Musketeers. I love that kind of adventure and going out and fighting the bad guys. And if you look across movies and books and so forth, there's a lot of them that use the rule of three. The Three Little Pigs, yeah, I read that before, The Three Musketeers. Now, as I grew older, I also noticed that there were some other people not like me. We called them girls. Yeah, and one day in fifth grade, I remember I was sitting at the back row next to my good friend John, and suddenly I got this little piece of paper. Someone passed it around, and it was a question and had three options. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that when it came to girls, you have three options. You might have received one of those too. As I grew up, my body changed and I became bigger. And I understood that when it came to clothes, there were kind of like three categories of sizes: small, medium, and large. One more time: small, medium, and large. Yes, there are variations around that, but it's kind of like three big buckets. We also went out, we drove around. Now I'm from a very small town, and we actually only had one traffic light. But when you go to a traffic light, what do you see? How many colors? Yeah, three colors. So one more time, the rule of three. One of the first times we went on holiday with my family was to a neighboring country, and we drove by car. So we took our car, my dad drove us to Germany. And as we crossed the border, I started to see some different flags. Have you seen the German flag? Yes, it got three stripes. Now, again, the rule of three. Why does it have three stripes? I don't really know. But what I do know is this: a lot of flags have three stripes. Why? Probably because it works and there's harmony. Three strong pillars. One other thing that really meant a lot to me when I was growing up was sports. I did a lot of sports. I think I've done most sports that you might think of. I didn't really excel, but I just loved sports. But what I did really enjoy was to watch the Olympics. And the Olympics, every 4 years, the whole world come together and they compete for how many medals? Yes, there are three spots on the podium: gold, silver, and bronze. Also, the Olympics have a motto. Do you know what it is? Faster, stronger, higher. Or is it faster, higher, stronger? It might be the latter. I didn't know about mottos and slogans when I grew up, but I remember the Olympics, and I remember these athletes coming together around those 3 core words every 4 years to really show what they had. Rule of 3. Now let's take it back to communication. So when you communicate, the rule of 3 can help you. Why can it help you? Because it helps you do a few things, actually 3 things that I want to talk about. Number 1, when you apply the rule of 3, I've seen many people, they show up on stage and they have these slides where you have like 8, 10, 12 bullet points and a lot of words, and it's just like crap. People look at it and they go like, oh, it's not exciting, there's a lot of stuff going on, and usually people will read it faster than you can present it, so you lose the crowd. And it's just too much stuff. So what you want to do is you want to take whatever it is you're presenting and put it around 3 themes. What are like 3 things that you can tell them that would illustrate the thing that you're talking about? That would help you focus, right? So you might have 12 things and they might all be important to you. But if 12 things are important, nothing is important. There's no focus. So pick like, what are the 3 things that I really want the people to know in the audience? What are the critical things that they need to understand to comprehend what I'm talking about and buy into what I'm saying? So focus. Number 2, if you only have 3 things, it's a lot easier to follow, right? I don't lose you on the way because I just have to like hold on to 3 different things, and that's a lot easier than 12 or 15. So it helps people to follow you, and not least, it helps people to remember. I only have to remember 3 things, not 5, not 7, and not 10. So 3 things is what you want to do when you present to other people. Let me show you an example. Here we are. So this was the structure I used last week when I showed you the presentation structure that I use with people in business and also when I do presentations myself. Now this has 9 boxes. Top row is beginning, middle row is middle, and bottom row is the end. Everything comes in 3 buckets. Now what I want to talk about today is not the whole thing again, but I want to talk about the middle part, because the middle part is what you can flex and you can do different things in the middle. I always keep the top and the bottom the same, so the same components in the beginning and the same 3 things at the end. Now let me show you how people have applied this in different places. So this is a traditional structure. If you have a problem and you found a solution and you want to illustrate the benefits to the company, this one works well. Now, if you look at Steve Jobs and he presented a new product, he might have said, I'm going to show you a new thing today. It's a phone. It's a phone. It's an iPod. It's an iPod. And it's an internet communicator. So that's what he did when he introduced the iPhone, the original iPhone in 2007. He talked about 3 things. It's a phone, it's an iPod, it's an internet communicator. It's a phone, it's an iPod, it's an internet communicator. And then he showed it. He said, today Apple reinvents the phone. Boom, 3 things. Now, if you have seen Steve Jobs' speech, commencement speech at Stanford in 2000 and can't remember, long time ago. But he was speaking to the students at Stanford. And what did he do? He didn't talk about the iPhone. He talked about, he had 3 stories, right? Story 1, story 2, and story 3. 3 big stories about his own life. And for every story he told, he was connecting the dots and explaining the point of the story. And he had all these pieces of good advice for the young people in the audience. So as you can see, you can change the middle part here to fit what you do. Now, for Steve Jobs, both the iPhone presentation and also the commencement speech at Stanford, I have put the links below. So feel free to click and watch them. They're just amazing. And for the iPhone launch, yes, it's more than an hour. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You can just watch the first 8-10 minutes and you will see how everything he talks about comes in trees. It works like magic. All right, that's the ruler tree. One more thing. So a couple of months ago, I was walking down the corridor and one of the senior people I work with, he came chasing me down the corridor and he said, "Stop, Thomas, I really need to talk to you." And I was like, oh shit, something is on fire. And he looked at me and he said, "I really don't like the ruler tree." And when someone looks at me and say they don't like the ruler tree, my kind of life, my world falls apart because my life is structured around the ruler tree. So I said, "What?" And he looked at me and he said, "I really don't like the ruler tree." And I got, "Why?" And he said, "Let me tell you." He said, every time we have a meeting or every time we have a conference and someone does a presentation, they always come up with 3 things. And I'm like, yes. He said, "Yeah, that's not the problem. The problem is they come up with 3 things. And even if they don't have 3 things, they make up 3 things." And I went, oh, now I understand. Here's the point. 3 is max. It's not a requirement. So if you only have 2 or you only have 1 point, make that 1 point. Don't start to add things just to make up 3. 1 point is the best because it's so much easier to understand and remember and execute. Yeah? All right. Let me finish with this. So if you're still not convinced, I know there's some of you out there who might not be convinced that the ruler tree is a great thing to do. Let me tell you about one more person. This guy lives in the Vatican. This guy speaks to millions of people around the world. He's also known as Pope Francis. Now, I'm not a Catholic, but I do like how he communicates. And one of the things that he does is he uses the rule of 3. Why? He has actually been trained to do that because he's a Jesuit. And the Jesuits, they use the rule of 3 in their communication. So when Pope Francis communicates to large crowds and does his talks and speeches and all that stuff, he structures around 3 things. A lot of what he says comes in 3s. Now, I don't know about you, but let me say this. If I want to improve my communication and I come across the ruler tree and I see it being applied by Steve Jobs and Pope Francis, maybe it would work for me too. So yes, I encourage you to apply it, put it into your communication, and just a simple thing like going into the Monday morning meeting, you're doing an update and just saying, rather than telling 10 things, what are the 3 most important things you tell the people in the room? The 3 most important things that would make them go like, yes, wow, interesting. Can I hear more about that? Do it. People will love you. I'm Thomas Bay, also known as Coach Bay. That was a video about communication principle number 5, use the ruler tree. You can download this 1-page guide. That's the link below. You can also like and subscribe. I hope you do. Add comments if you want to ask, if you don't understand, put it below and I'll be here to help. I want you to do better presentations because I see way too many people doing crappy presentations at work and people in the room who suffer because they have to sit through these presentations. So until next time, say no to crappy presentations and go out there and fight for better communication, fight for slides that rock. Boom.